really important is that we have rules for the bodybuilders. And the rules, we write them down into a book so that for every bodybuilder are the same rules and the same definitions how to work with our chassis. Not only this so-called book of knowledge, we have two-dimensional and three-dimensional CAD data for the bodybuilder company, for the design engineers, that they can work properly with our chassis. So they don't have to wait until this chassis is in their workshop. They can start working with the subframe at their computers. So they know very early what they will get later with the chassis. Really important from my point of view is not only to distribute this book to a bodybuilder, but also make a good training, a good qualification. So if we talk about a bodybuilder, perhaps now in the US, fitting bodies on this chassis, it makes sense to make a training 1, 2 or 3 days that they have a good qualification on our chassis, that they understand our thinking, how to mount the subframe to the chassis, how to use the PTO, how to use the electric interface, and so on. Of course, Econic is a truck chassis, but there are some special things that makes the life easier for the bodybuilder, and at least it's a better technique for the customer. And there are a lot of details how to fix the body to this chassis.
We have a cross member which is just fitted with screws. So this enables the bodybuilder to lengthen or even to shorten the rear overhang just to open, and he can push in the cross member. Mm-hmm. In the past it was bolted, riveted.
The reason there are so many frame drillings is purely because weight, or
it's easier to make different wheelbases and use the same tool for making the frame.
Yeah.
That's the other point. And it's for the bodybuilder to make it easier to fit that brackets on the right position. Yeah.
So all these functions that you mean only for lifting and doing everything with the body, because normally the bodybuilder companies had to take out the seats and the floor and everything to install their cables, but not at the Econic, because we pre-installed everything for the bodybuilder. So also, for example, this bracket to install this control unit, everything we fit ex-factory, because we want that they use the chassis like it is, not to take everything out. And this is really a cost factor, because the bodybuilder could install the body very fast to the chassis. And they find every time the same interface. They find interfaces how to mount it, they find interfaces how to install the hydraulic pump. They can, I say, plug and work.
This is one of the points which Rainer Thomas said about bodybuilder friendly. Mm-hmm. Here can the bodybuilder fit his wire, and into the cabin he can pull his wire through on the engine and go into the cabin and put them out. Okay. So he don't have to put his wire on the side of the engine.
Okay.
The other possibility is under this bracket. This is fixed pins which are described in this bodybuilder book from Rainer Thomas, and you can see it there. And these pins.
Connection socket for the bodybuilders with 32 pins, you can see in here. So the bodybuilder can click in here, all this wiring, and must no longer manual pull wires into the cabin.
I like the way that the inside of the cab was dressed from a wiring standpoint, because everything is very carefully taped up and clipped, so you don't get into that situation that we see in North America where people slam wires up, they leave them loose, and then they put in the interior trim, and then the wire gets trapped, and then it does this and it rubs through, and then you've got to go find it, and it isn't easy to find. The way that the truck is routed and clamping was great. mean, we're just having too fun. I joke, but honestly, the way this truck is routed is very, very good. It really is. It's a very robust front mount, which is crucial. So your bushing is very, very strong compared to what you would see in North America.
Getting some of your opinion on some of the stuff you saw inside. What were some of the things you think that are going to be an issue as we move forward?
It is only the arms. That arm hoop has got to be, it'll have to start about here, and it'll be mounted on the body back here. I was saying the big challenge for us is snow. You know, when you have a snow plow that goes through, plows the snow up on the side, and then this truck, not so much a residential front loader, but to a certain degree, it has to get close enough to pick up that trash. So that front corner is in a snowbank. The fact that you can replace the corner bumpers is a big bonus, because now if you damage that, you put another one instead of a whole bumper, right?
Yeah, the driver, of course, have to be aware on such icy conditions and to rise the driving level when he is inside. He can rise the ride level to a higher level to avoid or to avoid the risk.
Oh, it's an excellent truck. No doubt in my mind, it's an excellent truck. Maneuverability in downtown conditions. When I rode in the truck in Portland, there were times where I thought, this guy's never going to make that corner. Never. And he didn't even hardly slow down. And he was gone. Well, the one driver said to me when I was on the road test with him, he said, you know, this truck is so much more comfortable than my truck. I don't go home with a backache. I don't go home feeling tired. I play with my kids. In our situation, if you took this truck, and this truck was a right-hand drive truck, and it was a residential front loader, that driver is going to get out of that side, run to the front, maybe load something that isn't in a bag or whatever, throw that into the container, run back, jump in the truck. He's certainly not going to go from the other side. Now, the fact that he could come across your cab and climb out is a bonus.
You know, conceptually, Trevor, you'd want a left-hand steer.
So my advice is stay on the left with the left-hand steer, because this is why the driver feels well when he is driving in the traffic, even when he is on the side and is doing his work and has to start to go into the traffic again. If he sits on the left side, it's easy for him to see and to go in. If he sits on the opposite side, it's a problem for him always to link into the traffic again. He stands up, the door is open already, and he can walk out directly to the front, has not to open his wing door, to go out rearwards, and then to walk around the open hinge door.
You know, I think the guys in Portland they like the left-hand drive better than they do a right-hand drive as long as they can walk across. And I think it's for your exact reason. It's because the door swings open. You're not opening the door, getting out of the seat and getting down.
We're not only called starting ability, but also when the truck runs in the cold, minus 25°C, for example. Do you have to do anything to give the engine warmed intake air in order to keep the thing running?
We even want to have cool air even if we run in cool conditions. The cooler, the better.
And we found that we've had to modify the ISLG air intake system to get that engine to run in cold weather.
Maybe it was about something with freezing.
It was, yeah. And their issue was that their intake manifold had a temperature sensor in it, that the air was just so cold that it formed ice around that sensor.
We've got a system that checks if the EGR pipes are free. Otherwise, we close them until the system is hot enough to be ice free. Or we run without EGR if we are cold enough.
One of the challenges we have with any truck that uses a lot of air, like an automated side loader, stop to stop, is they really work the compressors hard. And so then you end up with a compressor life of a year.
The new is more reliable because we've got a two-stage compression, and therefore I think this is quite a big improvement.
So this is the only dipstick for the engine? You got to lift the cab to check the oil?
This is the mechanical one, and we've got an electronical one on the dashboard.
We don't like to let drivers lift cabs, frankly.
You can check everything from the dash.
Yeah.
Okay. One of our challenges has been that we've always broken the bolts that hold the manifold to the head.
We had that problem in the early days, but with that kind of design, we didn't have one single problem on our whole test fleet.
Have you ever seen any kind of issues where air gets introduced into the cooling system and you get air pockets in the EGR cooler, which then causes the cooler some serious damage very quickly?
It depends on how the inside of this cooler is done. Maybe there are from the supplier side some not tight welded pipes. We already saw that, but we didn't see anything that went worse when we use it on the NGT side. It's the same quality standard than on the diesel.
Just to finish off, as far as the noise in the cab, more than anything.
No,
We probably should run the engine up again.
Yeah.
And let me listen to the noise in the cab and see how quiet it is.
And this now is 220 kilowatts, 300 horse. That's silent.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.